Already last year, I really liked the Xiaomi Mi Air 13 and therefore it was an easy recommendation. But it wasn't quite what I personally wanted from a laptop. After all, it had a fan and it was a little bit too heavy and too bulky for my needs. And that's why I always wanted to review the Xiaomi Mi Air 12. Unfortunately, last year I didn't get the chance to do that. But this year with the Kaby Lake version I did, and I can already tell you so much. It will actually replace my late 2013 MacBook Pro Retina 13. Not saying that it's better, after all it costs just a fraction of that one, but it just fits me better these days. And if that's the case for you as well, we'll see in this review. So let's start off with the design and build, and actually with the size and weight, because it weighs 1080 grams, and I would say it's definitely fairly compact, because comparing it here to a 13.3 inch, which is also quite compact, you see, it still is a little bit smaller, thinner, and just lighter, which is the important part for me, which makes it so nice and portable and so easy to use. Of course, it also doesn't come with a fan, which is super nice. Build quality is also really good because it doesn't really flex a lot, just a little bit. And also here, it doesn't though feel super solid and super premium, because after all, some devices these days feel even more so sturdy. But what we have, of course, are feet here, but they don't really protect it all the way from sliding. You can actually open up the bottom quite easy because there is a free M.2 slot in case you wanna upgrade here. But otherwise, what do we get in terms of ports? Not actually that much, because we get a full-size HDMI and the headphone jack on the left side. On the front we get a cutout, which is super helpful, and USB 3.0 Type A and USB Type C here, no Thunderbolt though, and an LED. So in terms of ports, I would say it's acceptable. In terms of build quality, I would say really good. Now, what about one-hand opening? Yes, it can be done very easily actually, but it also comes with one downside. The hinge is actually a little bit too loose, because it wobbles a little bit, yes, but I would say the last few centimeters at this point, it just is a little bit too loose and then it almost falls down. So I would have liked to have it a little bit stiffer towards the end, but this doesn't break the experience, because easy one-hand opening is actually a little bit more important to me. Now, what you can also see are the quite slim bezels, maybe not so much on the bottom, but I think that's actually okay, because if you would slim those down, you would actually have to slim down the keyboard part as well, and I don't want to change much here, because this is still definitely compact enough, with the camera of course at the top. Now let's zoom in a little bit and check that keyboard. And what I have to say, the first thing that I don't like are silver keycaps, especially if you turn on the backlight. It makes reading the caps a little bit harder, so I mostly actually had them turned off. But what I have to give it to, the feedback, yeah, it does flex a little bit, but that's not an issue, not by normal typing. And I would say the travel is actually fine, because the really good thing here is, even though it doesn't really offer so much resistance, what I actually thought at first would be not that great, because it felt almost too easy. This, I think, actually allows me to type super fast and quite accurate. Of course, you have to get used to the layout, which is actually fine. We have all the extra buttons, we have a function lock. This is okay. I would have wished for actually half-sized buttons here for this, but otherwise it's fine. The power button in this placement is not my favorite one, because I would have liked to have the delete button here. But since it is a little bit stiffer, I never touch it by accident, which is actually the important part. But next time maybe just change it up. We have a big shift keys on both sides, which is great. So backlight is there. Typing experience is absolutely top, because you can type on it so fast. At first you have to get used to the slightly little bit of resistance that you have though. Now let's get into the system and actually check the trackpad. Let me zoom out for that again a little bit, so you can see the actual scrolling, because I have to point out one thing. Out of the box, which is just default, it comes with synaptic drivers. And there I have to say the precision was lacking a little bit. It was still fine, and you had a lot of extra options, because you could set up gestures for 3 fingers, 4 fingers, all those kinds of things, and actually minutely actually make some changes to that. But it just did lack a little bit of some precision, but it was still really good after all. But what I've noticed, and I found this yesterday, there is an option to install precision drivers. Unfortunately, I can't have them working permanently, because after a reboot they are gone for some reason. So if someone knows a solution for that, please let me know. But with that precision trackpad driver, you can have so many great features, because you can see I can quickly switch between all the tabs, and of course between the apps, and so much more. Because if you know the precision driver, and I can quickly actually show this, so I will take the time. As you can see here, you have extra options for pretty much everything. So up and down, left and right, and the tab for 3, 2-finger and 4-finger gestures, which is absolutely amazing. It also gets some extra precision. So with that, it would actually get a great, but just an almost great, because of one thing, because the trackpad after all has a little bit of a gap. So if I do usual just normal tapping, I notice that there is a little bit of a gap. It's not a big one, but it is there, especially if you have it on the here. You can feel it. You can hear it also a little bit. It's not a big issue, but no matter what, the trackpad is almost great, especially with the precision trackpad driver. Now the next thing to talk about would be the display, and let me get out one thing. Because I analyzed it with Spider Pro, and before I would have said it's an easily very good display. Numbers will show a little bit something different, and also as you can see here, this is the default calibration. So as you can see, quite cold, and this is what Spider did, so it definitely made contrast better and all that. But even with this, which we will let it at this point now at, I still have to say I really like what I got. Of course, numbers show something different with 72% of sRGB and 54% of Adobe RGB. It doesn't seem to be a high quality display. Gamma though was perfect, gray values as well. Brightness with 330 is about fine, totally good enough. Black values are also good. Contrast is also good, but it was just too cold. But this is just what numbers tell me, and I have to say, just normal experience is actually top. And there I give it still a very good, because 12.5 inches for a 1080p display, super nice and sharp, noticeably sharper compared to a 13.3 inch, especially due to quite a clear screen. The white point was too cold, but yeah, it can be adjusted, and then it is a nice uniform white. Black was also good, no light bleed, quite deep still. Colors pop. Of course, it is a glare panel, and some people just don't like that so much, because then you would maybe need it a little bit brighter. But indoors, if you don't have a problem with the glare and the reflections, you will get an amazing experience, because then the colors, especially once calibrated, are actually super nice. So actually, let's get back to what it would be, just so you can maybe glimpse it. And of course, over the video you won't see, but still very good. Nothing changes that. Now, what about the speaker here? I am a little bit mixed about the speaker. First of all, I'm just generally not a fan of a bottom firing speaker, which is just blocking the sound, muffling it up if you have it on your laps or on any soft surface. If you have it on a desk and it can reflect, the sound, I would say, is very good. At least really good, because the maximum volume is then also just better, and it doesn't tend to distort as much as it does. Because the problem is on higher volumes at 70 and above, due to the metal chassis, it just tends to distort, which is a little bit distracting and annoying. My MacBook does the same, so this has something to do with aluminum, if it's maybe not properly stabilized or something like that. But the sound balance is nice. I can't complain about anything in that regard. But bottom firing is not my first choice. But after all, it's a quite good speaker, because in all situations, even if muffled, it's usually loud enough and it sounds quite good. What though is great is the headphone jack. I did not expect it to be that loud, that nice of a quality. You don't maybe get some extra options to adjust it. Of course, it's Windows, you can at some point do it, but really good in that regard. Now, what about the performance? Let me get in a little bit closer to get a few things out of the way. First of all, the SSD. It's not the fastest one. With 500 writes, it's actually quite good, but still, we have seen better ones. But for this price, I don't think you can expect much more. And this comes also along with 12 seconds of cold boot time. Now, scrolling, as you can see here in the browser, especially with the precision trackpad driver, super nice and smooth. And this is just great. And overall performance, even though this is just the 4GB version with the Core M3, totally of a nice performance. I cannot complain, because I don't know, the Core M, especially with Kaby Lake, got so good in terms of turbo boosting and so on, that the browsing for some reason actually seems better than on many i5 devices with a proper dual core. So daily use performance is really good. One thing that you should not really consider though is do video and photo editing, because it is not meant for heavy loads on longer period of time, because it will throttle. So let's actually already get to the part that I want to cover here, because if we cover the heat and noise. First of all, noise, we don't have to really cover much, because it doesn't have a fan. It does have some minimal coil whine, but being away about 10-20 centimeters, you don't really hear it anymore, so that's why I would consider that's pretty much no coil whine. But in terms of temps, and you can see them just for me as a note, ambient temperature was at 29 degrees, and at the bottom then on the sides we had about 31 degrees, and in the middle 33, and on the top as well 30 to 33. So especially this part where you have your hands was absolutely moderately warm, absolutely nice, actually totally fine. Maximum CPU was at 48 and the average at 40. Now things changed with load, because then at the bottom it got to 35 to 44, even though I could still actually use it quite easily on my laps. It never felt warm, especially also for the top. Here it always was totally mildly warm, so really nice. But the CPU got to 68 degrees and on average on 61, and the average of 61 comes with that thing that it just doesn't use the full turbo boost of 2.4 gigahertz anymore, but it throttled it down, or if that's really throttling, it clocked it down to 1.8 gigahertz permanently, and that's where it pretty much stayed all the time after about half an hour of a stress test. So for me, that's actually no proper throttling, because I don't think this device is meant for like rendering a video like for an hour or so, but for all normal daily tasks it is not an issue. For anyone who wants to do some number crunching here that takes up more load on a longer period of time, I would just say check something else, maybe the Mi Air 13 or something like that. Now, about the battery. A full charge takes 2020. I have to admit though that I couldn't use the original charger because I had to use a US plug and I lost all my adapters, so I used the one from the Lenovo, but it should be pretty much the same after all. Now what about the battery life? And here I have to say still I will give it a very good, because the first like 5 days I consistently got between 7 and 7.5 hours. The last few days for some reason I was down to maybe 6.5. But I would say at the worst case scenario, since I always turn off all battery saving technologies and all kind of optimizations and so on, just to check that what I can get at least, I got 6 hours. And in the best case for me, I was at about 7.5, maybe possible 8. But I also have to admit, for anyone who just uses it normally with lighter tasks, more typing and so not watching that many movies and so on, you should be actually close to 10 hours from my experience. So at about at least 20%, if not 25%. So I would say 10 hours plus should actually be what you should expect. Now in terms of software, it came with the Chinese Windows version. It was activated though. I then installed the normal one, so I have German here working and the activation actually seemed fine. But keep in mind that you should back up your drivers and all that in case you don't want to lose anything. But I would say let's now get to the pros and cons, because we have quite a lot here as you can see. Now, let's start off with the acceptable port selection. It's not more than that, but still, and we get a free M.2 slot in case you want to upgrade the storage. Really good build quality. It could feel a little bit more sturdy or solid maybe. After all though, it is lightweight and compact. It can be easily opened one-handed, and that was not that great. Sorry. It can be easily opened one-handed, very good trackpad, a really good trackpad if you use Synaptic, but if you use Precision and if you get it working permanently, it is almost great, just a little bit of the gap as I said. Really good display, subjectively very good actually. Quite a good speaker, great headphone jack, very good daily use performance, it is fanless and pretty much has no coil whine. Very good temps in normal but also in a little bit harder use, because it never really got warm, that's the good thing. Very good battery life and value is also good. Now what's not that great, even though I don't think there are really any complete deal breakers here, because the hinge, like I said, could have been a little bit stiffer towards the end. We have silver keycaps, not a fan of that. Also not of the gap of the trackpad. The trackpad slightly lacks precision with the Synaptics driver, but it's still fine. Quite default calibration. The speaker tends to distort, not made for heavy duty tasks. It came with the Chinese Windows 10 and it usually has to be imported. And the import part is the thing that I just have to mention up front, because especially on gear-based prices with flash sales and also jump all the time. And the thing is here just you have to check at which price you will get it, because I've seen prices ranging from about 540 dollars to like 740 euros, or let's say $400 or 440 euros to maybe 600 euros. And the thing is just at 600 I could still recommend it, but I wouldn't really buy it myself, because I know there will be a flash sale or anything like that, and I will actually, if you watch this recently enough, post a coupon code, so you should get it around $500 if I'm not wrong. And then the price is actually fine, because as you have seen, you get so many pros, and considering the price, you make some smaller compromises. You don't get a faster storage. throttling is not an issue because this is a 12.5 inch with a Core M and it performs just as good as any other. The speaker distorts a little bit, but even without that it sounds better than still a lot of laptops out there, and especially the cheaper ones out there. So you pay a little bit more compared to something like an Honda or a Chewy, but you also get more for what you pay for. So it totally makes up for that. And I have to say, it is not perfect. And if I would have been able to change a few things, let me just give out a wish list maybe for next year, and then it would be perfect. But even without that, I can easily recommend it for whichever price you get, but get it closer to 500. So black keycaps, the speaker not distorting, precision drivers out of the box, and maybe make it feel a little bit more solid. But that would already make it, not just for the price, but in general, pretty much perfect, because I'm super happy with it, and therefore I have no problem it replacing my MacBook Pro 13. But let me know what you think, because it has to be imported, Chinese software, precision drivers, you have to sometimes tinker with that. So out of the box experience was still quite good, very good actually, but maybe it's not quite for everyone if you want a better experience. Some people are okay with paying double the price for maybe then something like a Yoga 13 that comes with pen support, has a 360 hinge and so on. But if you just want a laptop that gets every normal daily tasks done in a really good way, in an actual premium feeling way, and you get a great experience, I don't see the need to pay more. Because personally, I have to say, I'm not cheap, but these days I just don't see a reason why I should pay more than for this. Because you would have to pay like at least $300, $400, $500 more to get a little bit of a better experience. If that's worth it, I don't really know. Because a very good experience. What more do you want for this price? Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy. And yeah, if you liked it, thumbs up, maybe subscription and a comment down there below. Other than that, let's finish it off. Until next time, bye.